Hi, this is Amy Martin, and this is week 3 of Alone Together, audio postcards from the pandemic. We're inviting you, our listeners, to send us 1 minute of audio each week in response to a pandemic-related prompt. This week's prompt is Down in a Hole. That's a reference to a beautiful song called Miner's Refrain by Gillian Welch.
I'm down in a hole, I'm down in a hole, down in a deep, dark hole.
We want to make some space for your grief this week, because that's a big part of this experience for a lot of people. What is breaking your heart right now? Maybe it's a wedding you weren't able to hold, or a grandchild who's been born who you haven't been able to meet yet. Maybe you've lost someone to the coronavirus or something else, or maybe you're just generally feeling really heavy about this whole situation. Does your sadness have a sound, or do you just want to tell us about it? Maybe you've been keeping your grief mostly on a slow boil, or maybe it's just washing over you constantly. How are you handling that? What are you doing with your grief, especially when you can't go be with the people you love?
I'm down in a hole, I'm down in a hole, down in a deep, dark hole.
There's so much to love about this song, but this next verse is my favorite part.
Now there's something good in a worried song for the trouble in your soul, 'cause a worried man has been a long way down, down in the deep dark hole.
So go ahead, share your grief with us if you want to, and with your fellow Threshold listeners, because there's something good in a worried song. There's something good about knowing we're not alone in our deep, dark holes.
I'm down in a hole, I'm down in a hole.
Thank you to everyone who's participating in this project. Anyone can jump in at any time. Just go to thresholdpodcast.org and click Alone Together for details on how to submit your recording. We'll close out this week with a couple of the responses to our Earth Day prompt, Core and Greening. How is nature helping you through this? Or what are you missing the most from the natural world? You'll hear from Jacob in Seattle and Sheila in Milan, and we'll be back next week with a new prompt for you. Again, just go to thresholdpodcast.org and click Alone Together.
It's a beautiful, sunny and windy spring day here in Seattle, Washington. I'm standing out on my back porch with the maple blossoms strewn across the wooden planks. The porch surrounded by blossoms of bleeding hearts and tulips and hyacinth and bluebells, and then the giant maple tree that hovers over our house, standing guard. This month has been being out on the back porch. This month has been, one of the highlights of the month, as we've been inside with our newborn son, who was born just as the state went into lockdown, and so we've just taken so many small pleasures in sitting out on the porch, watching the robins, reading books, and enjoying the space that we can be outside.
Hello again from Milan. Not a lot of core and greening going on here, I'm afraid. Our restrictions are pretty severe, and what I miss most is not having been able to go for a walk, not even a short one in the park, for these last 7 weeks of lockdown. So instead, I've watched the bare trees gently unfold their leaves little by little, from that very first hint of green to darker and deeper shades. By now, I'm looking down on a full green canopy on the median strip outside my apartment, and I revisit my photo archives and I review images of trips taken before. I'm using the time to plan a 2-week hike in the mountains, which can be hopefully put in action when restrictions have eased and the mountain huts are operating again. But what I can't plan for or even imagine is how it will feel to be outside in nature again. Maybe even more extraordinary than it felt before.